Hello everybody, we're about to get started. Right. Move this over here. That's good. Yep, a little. All right, everybody. So it's 11:49. I'm gonna do some, I guess, afternoon mobility. Been on my computer desk all day, answering emails and performing some tasks. So now I need to get out and move my hips, my spine. I'm gonna go over the full body CARS routine first, and then I'm gonna go over some spine and hip stuff. I'm gonna do all that in the kneeling position. Now you don't have to kneel. You could stand this whole time, just like this, squeeze your fists. And you can also be seated in a chair for a lot of these things. So I'm gonna do this kneeling. That way I can get some more knee flexion. I can also get some plantar flexion. I can also start keeping my core nice and tight in this position. So I'm gonna go into the kneeling position to start. All right, here we go. I'm gonna start with the neck, and I'm gonna work my way down, squeezing the fist here. I'm at about a 30% full body irradiation. And basically what that means is, think of your core here kind of spreading all the way out to the limbs, lower limbs and upper limbs, and it filling up with just kind of tension. So your whole body is contracting all at the same time. Okay, so the whole body will contract about 30% effort, except for the joint that's being moved. Now, obviously, if you were contracting your neck, you wouldn't be able to move it, right? So you actually have to be able to move that joint through active range. So we're going to start at about 30% intensity, squeezing the fists. If you have like tennis balls or lacrosse balls, you can squeeze them, and then that way you can create a little bit more force. You can also hold on to a dowel, and you can also hold on to a kettlebell. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do it without any equipment. I'm gonna squeeze the fists, flex down, rotate, bend into the side, extend back, rotate, bend, flex down. One more. And then other way. 2 full circles. Make sure everything else is nice and tight here. Okay, thoracic spine, which will be a focus eventually. I'm going to go with a little bit wider knees. I'm going to try to keep my shoulders almost behind my hips. Flex the upper back down. Rotate. Dip the shoulder to the hip. Extend back. Rotate. Bend into the opposite side. And flex down. Rotate, bend, extend. Rotate, bend, flex down. And then same thing other way. Rotate, bend, extend, rotate, bend, flex down. One more. Rotate, bend, extend, rotate, bend, and flex down. From here, shoulders. I'm gonna go into just a kneeling position instead of the collapsed kneeling, just to give my toes a break. From here, I'm going to do the same thing, irradiate the whole body. Flexion, glenohumeral, internal rotation as you extend. Back of the hand next to the side of the body. Extend, unwind. Flexion across the body and down. One more, all the way up. Internally rotate as you extend. extend, unwind, across the body, down. Other side, flexion, internal rotation to extension, extension, external rotation to flexion. One more. Keep your whole body tight. Try not to move your neck forward. And across the body and down. Okay, scapula, squeezing the fists, hands in front of the shoulders, and then out about 10 degrees. From here, move forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. We're going to go the other way, back, up, forward, and down. Back, up, forward, and down. Back, up, forward, and down. So that's scapula. Elbow, we'll go back to collapsed kneeling. From here, flexion, pronation at the elbow, and then push down. Supination, flexion, pronation, extension. And then we're going to keep it pronated, bend, supinate, extend, pronate, bend, supinate, extend. You can do the same thing with the shoulders abducted. Might hear some popping, probably normal. And you can also do your axial rotations here. So from here, actually go to a 30-30 position. Both my knees are bent almost all the way. I'm just supporting myself here. I'm going to externally rotate at the shoulder and then internally rotate at the shoulder. So here, watch my thumbs go down, and I'm going to reach all the way out, almost pulling apart. And then from here, I'm going to try to extend my wrists. And then I'm going to externally rotate, hold here, try to get those fingers go up toward the sky into extension. And then with just one arm, or one hand, I'm going to go into flexion. I'm going to pull the body apart as I do that. Squeeze my core, push my legs into the ground, and then switch. Trying to pull that hand into flexion, opposite into extension. Pull those arms apart, push into the ground, and then squeeze both fists. Biceps turn back. Bend at the elbows. And then from here, squeeze the fist still. I'm going to internally rotate at the shoulder at a 90-degree angle here. So you should be able to externally rotate, internally rotate, and then switch. You can also add in some more supination or pronation here. And then relax. After that, we'll get the wrists, come back to that kneeling position or collapsed kneeling. Full circle here, all the way up, out, and down. Full circle of the wrists. Keep the elbows locked at 90 as you do this. And try not to let the hands go toward the midline. So 2 to 3 full circles each side. And make sure that you go in the opposite direction. So we're really working those wrists here. And then from here, do the wrist extension test, where you bring your wrists together. You see if you can get a book on top, flat on your hands. And you can see how much active wrist extension you actually have. So if you're trying to do handstands, you have to have that active wrist extension because you're going to put all that load So if it's 45 degrees or if it looks like this, then you shouldn't be doing handstands or push-ups. You should really be working on your wrist strength. All right, next we're gonna go to the hips. I'm gonna stand for this one. So I'm also gonna push into the wall. I'm gonna use that same sided leg. I'm gonna sweep that leg up. And then I'm gonna abduct the hip. I'm gonna let the knee drop as the foot goes up. Swing that knee around into a full circle. Knee touches the other knee. Back to extension. Open up. Come all the way around. And down. One more. Up, out, back and around. Back and around. Forward and down. And switch. Sweep it up. Out, back. And then back, out, and forward, out, back, knee touches knee, extend, open up, knee up toward the sky, and all the way around. Okay, for the knee, I'll sit on the ground, pull that hamstring, hook the hands, squeeze the fist here, and squeeze that leg into the ground. Externally rotate the tibia, pull that into the chest, extend in and down, out, up, in, down, out, up, in, down, in and up, out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up, out, and down. And from here, we'll get the ankle, pull that knee up, fully locked here, 4 toes, small toes down, big toe up, and switch, 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 all toes up, separate the toes, piano arm down, all toes up, big toe touch 3 times. And then we'll get the kneecap. Make sure this leg's relaxed. Push it side to side, up and down, and then full circle. Should feel like nothing. If it feels like something, that's something that you want to pay attention to. Switch, hook underneath, out, up, in, down, out, up, in, down, in and up, out, down, in, up, out, down. Ankle, all the way around. Other way. Two full circles each way. Take your time. Toes, big toe down, small toes up. Push this heel down. And then switch. 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 All toes up. Separate the toes. And then try to piano them down. Toes up, piano them down. One more. A lot harder on this side for me. And then all toes up. Smash that big toe 3 times into the ground. And then we're done there. And then kneecap, patella. Side to side, relax the leg. Up and down, and then full circle. So I actually had surgery on this right patella. Probably like 4 years ago. No, yeah, 2016, so 4 years ago. All right, full body is done as far as FRC goes in the morning mobility routine. We have about 20 minutes left. I'm gonna go over some spine and some hip stuff. So I'm gonna go into the cat camel or cat cow, whatever you want to call it, spinal flexion and extension position, and teach you pals and rails in that position, which is going to be really good if you've been sitting long hours at a desk, right? like I have. So I'm going to push into the ground, get in my spinal flexion position, in the quadruped position. So focusing on the science of this, not just the fact that we can call it an animal, right? We're in spinal flexion. We have the cervical 1 to 7 here, T 1 to 12, L1 to L5, and then you have your sacrum and coccyx, which is fused together, right, all the way at the bottom, your tailbone. So that's what the tissues that surround the spine is what we're going to work on. So we're going to tuck the chin, flex the cervical, flex the thoracic, and I'm going to have a posterior pelvic tilt so that I'm flexing also, in a way, my lower spine. So my whole back is in spinal flexion here. And what I'm going to do is just hold passively first. Just let the nervous system kind of deal with what is going on right now. Deal with what is going on. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Diaphragmatic breathing, inhaling through the 360-degree abs, obliques, and lower back area. So you're filling up that whole area. And then exhaling all out, nice and slow. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Almost there. Inhale 4, exhale 8. And don't worry, we will get spinal extension. From here, hold and breathe. Keep inhaling for 4, exhaling for 8, diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale, belly obliques, lower back, fill it in those areas. Let the pressure go in that area. Remember, the air is going in the lungs, not the belly. You just are expanding pressure in the belly to produce more capacity in the lungs. So you're not actually inhaling in your belly. So from here, inhale 4, exhale 8. We're going to start pushing the ground, trying to rip this carpet. I want you to try to rip the carpet going in this direction. We're trying to pull it away from the knees and the feet. And with the feet and the knees, we're going to try to rip the carpet going that way. So we're actually going to try to tear a piece of cloth right here. We're going to try to tear 2 lines apart. Okay, we're not going to go anywhere because it's going to be an isometric contraction. But while we're in here, what we're going to want to do is begin to extend and push like this, right? But we're going to fight that by turning on all the muscles that allow you to flex the spine, like your neck, your shoulders, shoulder girdle, your lats, your entire rectus spinae, and all the muscles that run from your glutes to your hamstrings to your calves into the ground, using all that strength you can to pull it apart with your knees, your hips, your glutes, your back, your upper back, your hands, and also your triceps here. And then we're going to squeeze the ground with our core, but that's not for a little bit. So what we're going to do first is our pals contraction. We're going to start pushing the ground forward with our hands and pushing the ground back with our knees and feet. We're going to begin at about 10% effort. We're going to keep the back rounded, keep the back flexed, posterior pelvic tilt, pushing the ground apart, trying to rip the carpet 20%, 30%, 40% and hold. Make sure you're not concaving here and loosening up your flexion. 50% effort, 60% effort, trying to rip the carpet forward and back with all of your back and posterior muscles, glutes, turns on, hamstrings, calves, hands, forearms pushing into the ground, lats, lower back. 60% to 70. As long as there's no pain, we're going to build that from 70 to 80 to 90, all the way to 100 in safest and greatest effort for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And now with our abs and our chest and our quads and our tibularis anterior in the front of our shins, we're going to try to pinch the ground. We're going to keep the back rounded. Now we're trying to pinch the ground. We're not trying to rip it anymore. Now we're actually trying to pull the carpet toward each other. So from here, squeeze in the ground, but we're going to try to keep that back rounded, chin tucked in, pelvis underneath. We're going to do it at 100% effort. Go. 12 seconds. Hold it. Squeeze in the core, chest, pinching the ground. 8, 7, 6, 5, smash the ground in. 3, 2, and relax. From here, we should be almost shaking after that. And then we're going to begin to articulate and segment the spine into flexion. So we're going to push again away and back, trying to rip the ground. And now we're going to pinch the ground with our core and begin segmenting at the lowest part of our spine, which would be the tailbone, the whole hip complex, and the lower back. So from here, we'll begin to go from a posterior pelvic tilt, dipping down to the anterior pelvic tilt, but segmentally trying to control the vertebrae from the lower lumbar, L5 to L1, letting the belly drop, changing the pressure to segment the spine, allowing the belly to drop, trying to really control the muscles that extend the spine, going into the thoracic spine. And then from the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, into extension. And then from here, we're going to breathe and hold. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Be in full extension. Trying to find your line of tension that works best for you. So this is really going to undo all that spinal flexion that we created before, and then also the spinal flexion that we do when we're looking at our phones, computers. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Trying to breathe into that abdominal wall, obliques and lower back. Trying to exhale for 8. Inhale 4, exhale 8, breathing into the belly, obliques, lower back, full spinal extension. Full inhale for 4, exhale for 8. Have to be able to hold your passive stretches longer than you anticipate if you're trying to create long-term adaptable change. Finding that deep spinal flexion or extension here. So deep spinal extension and quadruped. From here, what we're going to do for our pals, we're going to try to pinch the ground with our core, and then our rails, we're going to try to pull the ground apart with our posterior chain, or our back, hamstrings, and glutes. So from here, we're going to get into that spinal extension and quadruped, making sure the anterior pelvic tilt, each vertebrae is in their best line of segmentation to give you the right amount of tension where you feel like where you feel like your body needs it. And then from here, 10% effort trying to squeeze the ground with the core, the anterior side of the body, chest, core, quads. Trying to squeeze this ground, pinch the ground here, 20%, 30%. Keep the whole back extended. You're going to want to flex out of it. 30%, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, all the way to your safest and greatest effort for 10 seconds. Try to pinch the ground with your whole anterior chain. 5, 4, as hard as you can. 3, 2, and now with your posterior chain and back, you're going to push the ground apart, but keep the spine extended. Push the ground apart, keep the back extended, push forward with your hands, using your back, your lats, your rhomboids, but keep the back extended. And you're also using your glutes to push the ground back as hard as you can. Everything pushing forward, pushing back with your legs, and back. 3, 2, and then 1. And then from here, we're going to segment from extension to spinal flexion, starting with the tailbone, all working our way to L5 to L1. Keep the head up, keep that upper back extended, and then from here, working our way all the way up the spine to spinal flexion, thoracic flexion, and cervical flexion. And then from here, push the ground forward, push the ground back with your legs, with your back, and then segment here. We're going to try to segment with the cervical spine. So you look up first, thoracic spine, begin to extend. You'll know where you lack extension when you begin this, and record it, and segment all the way down. And then try to reverse that on the way up, or you can go with the head flexion down first, upper back flexion, mid back, low back, and then pelvic shift. So that would be spinal flexion and extension, pals and rails, which takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, but you're going to feel obviously different after you do any type of exercise. But if you do that consistently long term, you're going to have a lot more control of your spine and probably a better spine. So those are my tips on spinal flexion and extension. For the hip, we're actually going to do some hovers. So if you have a tennis ball or lacrosse ball or a kettlebell, we're going to be using those today, or a yoga block. Okay. So for the kettle, we do what we would call a regressive angular load, or rails. In this case, I'm going to regress this front angle here. So I'm trying to go deeper into external hip rotation and hip flexion. And as I do that, I'm going to try to extend my knee over the barrier. So whether that's a kettlebell, a block, or a ball like that, we're just going to use that barrier as a external feedback. So I'll move some of this stuff out of the way. So whatever you have, block, ball, or kettle, I'm going to actually use the kettle. I'm going to set up the top of the kettle right in that groove where my foot is, okay? And then from here, what I'm going to do, I'll put the ball there just so you can see it a little bit brighter. So put that there in case you're using the ball. But what I would do is set up in my 90-90 position, front knees in front of my front hip here. This would be my front hip side. This would be my back hip side. This would be internal rotation. This would be external hip rotation. So from here, what I'm going to do is try to regress the angle, meaning that I'm trying to go deeper into the angle. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hover over the object. I'm going to go for 5 reps here. So here we go. I'm going to first push into the ground, create some irradiation or force. If you needed, you could even cheat by holding on to some TRX straps, or you could also cheat by just leaning back like this, okay? But we're going to try not to cheat, and we're going to try to keep our back straight. And we're going to try to keep our lower back arched slightly as we lift over. Now, if you feel like it's not going to make it over, then by all means, just kind of lean back just a little bit and kind of adapt to your own setting. So from here, I'm going to lift up and over. I'm going to first start by pushing into the ground, and then I'm going to lift up and over and try to land softly on the other side of the kettlebell. I'm going to go for 5 reps. Inhale. Radiate, squeeze the whole body, and then try to lift off and over. Back over. Okay, so that would be 1 rep. We're going to go for 5. 2. Could just be your phone. 3. 4. And 5. So that time I was kind of leaning, I was kind of cheating to that right side. So if you're really good, you won't be leaning or anything. So the better you get at your hip external rotation and hip flexion, and the more you practice that, the more you won't have to lean like I am, and you'll be able to almost, now if I put full effort, I probably can do it without cheating. So I'm going to try it without cheating. So I'm going to try full effort here. So my 1 rep max, right? So from here we go. Ooh. So still not there, but coming close to it. Now let's go ahead and get the other side. So getting to 90-90 on the other side. I'll put that ball there so you can see it, and then the top of the bell goes right into the dorsiflexion groove. And then from here, I'm going to face, let's see if I can get this. That's better. All right. So remember, back hip and front hip should make a 90-degree angle. Both knees should make a 90-degree. Back shin's in line with the front foot. Push that top bell against the foot, okay? Crossball is there if you want to use a crossbow, or you could just put your phone right here and try to lift over that. Remember, trying not to lean to the side, trying not to lean back, but using those options because this is going to be hard, okay? So if you have really good hips, you won't cheat, you'll keep your back straight. You could even do it with your arms like this, or you're going to be like me with a bad hip, and we're going to be suffering over this kettlebell. All right, so here we go. We're going to push into the ground, radiate, and then we're going to try to lift over the bell. Inhale, and we're going to go for 5 reps. Here we go. Inhale. It's 1. 2. 3. 4. And 5. Okay. Definitely leaning, not back, but more to the side. That's kind of my preference choice. So now I'm going to try to do it without leaning to the side. I'm going to just try to keep my back straight. Even if I cramp up, or even if it doesn't work, I'm going to just see if it works here. I could also remove the kettle. And I could work with that perfect position like this. Okay. So I'm going to try it anyway. Put the kettle there. Here we go. Inhale, radiate, and then lift off. Okay, so that would be hip external rotation, regressive angular loading. Okay, and so that would be some spine work and some hip work today for you, and definitely going to help me because, you know, like everyone else, we're sitting a lot more. And if you have any questions, just please let me know, and we'll talk to y'all later. See ya.